you. My name is Krissy Coggshall. I'm a computer science major. This is actually my first semester, or not semester, first year at BC. This is currently my third semester being a full-time student at BC as a freshman. This last month has been difficult for all of us, I'm sure. I also work at the BC campus in the Child Development Center as a student tutor. But right now, because of all the transitions, I have to convert over to Zoom for online tutoring. And that's been fluctuating in scheduling and changes for all of us. Some of the main difficulties I had to go through for online classes was being able to fix all the technical issues at my house. Right now, our Wi-Fi is not the best. It's normally meant for only 2 or 3 people to use. And since my whole family, 5 of us, are using all the Wi-Fi and we're all at home using it at once, it gets pretty difficult paying attention to lectures because sometimes it cuts out, sometimes I get cut off from Zoom, sometimes I'm not able to speak to one another in my study groups. But I've been working through it by dialing in through the phone and trying to move around the house to better locations in my house that have better Wi-Fi. And it's also been really difficult to balance work from home and school, studying, because this is actually my very first job. I'm only 18 years old and just fresh out of high school, and I was really excited to start working on campus. And once we were told to work from home and to study from home, it's been really hard trying to find my new schedule that can balance doing chores around the house, helping around the house, being able to study, being able to still attend to office hours online, tutoring, and being able to go to lectures. But part of these difficulties may be very frustrating for some of us, but a lot of my classes were actually able to come up with really interesting solutions. For my history of rock and roll class, my professor Martinez, he is brand new to Zoom. He's never used it before, like many of us, and he always plays music when we come into class or during lectures, just so we know what types of songs he's talking about, genres of music, things like that. So he wasn't able to play the music properly on his own. It would cut out, there would be white noise, pinging, really frustrating technical issues. So one of the solutions we came up with was he would have one of his students volunteer to screen share and share audio so that we're still able to listen to music online through the lectures and not have to do it outside of the lecture on our own, because for some of us it can be kind of hard to search the specific songs he wants us to listen to. And for classes like my computer science class, that was the most easiest transition, because for computer science, our textbooks are already online and our assignments are on the computer. So for classes like that, they are a little easier to transition. But for classes like physics or chemistry or biology that require in-person labs, in-person group works, that was the most difficult to transition. My physics professor, Professor Wilson, we were all in one classroom right before our transition to online, and we were all wondering, how are we going to do labs? How is that going to work? Because that's part of our grade. It's part of our participation. And what he came up with was to pre-record his videos of the experiments and send them to Canvas for all of us students to collect the data and still do our calculations. And I actually have a little video clip of one of the videos. It's a ballistic pendulum. We have to shoot a steel ball into a pendulum and collect data depending on the angle it shoots, the velocity it shoots out, and accelerations and stuff like that. So I believe there's a video on this slide. If I can get help with that. Thank you.
Good old number 5. We're back at 25 degrees. All right. And there is angle number 5. Okay, go ahead and start doing your number crunching and analysis, and hopefully you find that the initial velocity of the ball here is very similar to part A. That's the goal, right?
Thank you. And what's so awesome is that Professor Wilson and Professor Martinez, it can be really difficult for these ideas to come up with. Sometimes we feel like, oh, it's impossible to transition from an in-person lecture to online. But for solutions that Professor Martinez and Professor Wilson came up with, with examples like that, we know it's not impossible. So even though we go through hardships and strong emotions and feeling like it could be impossible, just don't give up. We have each other, we have our professors, our faculty, and our classmates. So we're all in this together.